It's time for this week's UpLift. 3 ordinary guys that want you to find the freedom that is available by knowing our Lord Jesus Christ. So sit back and enjoy UpLift, brought to you by the Fulcrum Center. Visit our site at thefulcrumcenter.org.
Well, good evening. And the good news is there's 3 smiling faces.
I know, right?
Yes.
And there's
I know.
And it's real. It's not just a picture.
It's not a picture.
It's not just a frozen picture of a smile. You've got a real smile in the middle.
Smiling is good because, as everybody that watches or listens knows, that we weren't on last week. We had a rerun.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with another fact. Do you know why smiling is good? It helps you not throw up.
Oh, it doesn't really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good to
Wow.
know.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Right.
Right.
I'll keep that in mind.
The next time I feel that urge.
I know, right? Well, text me how. Tell me how it works. But anyway.
Okay. So, last week we had a rerun from At the Table about the struggle. And, we've all, for the last few weeks, been feeling the struggle.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Right.
But things are better, right?
Always.
Right. Okay. Yes. The struggle sometimes, even if it doesn't go away, it can get better.
It can. And I really, from saying that, it came from a standpoint of Scripture telling us that all things work together for good. Mm-hmm. And even though we're in those times or those seasons may come up, that's difficult. That is struggle. Mm-hmm. At some point in time, all things work together for good. Mm-hmm. And you got to trust it.
Yeah. Well, I'm Phil Bliss.
I'm Ian Thornton.
I'm Chad McLeish.
And this is UpLift. You're not going to sing it for us this time?
No, I'm not. Chad is.
So, I want to tell you guys something. Start this off by saying, for a couple months, I was starting to get a little concerned. Okay?
Okay.
I was having trouble remembering things, and I felt very foggy, brain fog, a little irritable. And my grandmother passed away from Lewy body dementia. My dad, prior to his passing, he had encephalopathy, which is basically he lost his mind because his kidneys weren't working. And my uncle on my dad's side, and my grandmother's side, is starting to show signs of dementia. Okay. They haven't diagnosed him with that. But anyway, those things all came to mind. I'm like, God, is there something I can do? Is this generational, possibly? If it is, I want to know so I can stop it. I don't want to lose my mind. And all I heard was childhood. I'm like, okay. So for 3 days, I kept hearing the word childhood. Finally, I go to God and I say, what is about my childhood? He said, trauma. I went, okay, I was in a car that was on fire. Was that it? And, that really, it was traumatic, but that wasn't it. So I kept pressing in, and he revealed it to me. And we worked on it for a couple weeks. Just every time he brought it to mind, I'd take it to him and say, okay, now what? What more? And I would remember things about this very traumatic event in my childhood. And honestly, it's like one of the most vivid memories I have of my childhood because it was so traumatic. But he kept bringing it to mind. But anyway, he's asked me to do a video on it and do a testimony. And
awesome. So
I'm going to be doing that sometime. But what happened, though, is it changed my attitude. I am remembering things again. My brain's not foggy. My job is going really well. Things are great. Now, I really attribute it to the constant relationship, just purposely trying to build the relationship with God.
Yeah.
I really believe that is the foundational aspect of this. But, when struggles come, and struggles are here, and more are coming.
They are.
Then we have someone we can go to. And not just take them off the shelf, put them back on the shelf. I mean a constant working with him. Because he knows better than anybody else how to fix anything,
Yeah.
and He wants to.
Yeah, He does. You know, I've been dealing with an experience and time with the Lord as well. And with that, it's for me, it was one of the, it really came to a head the other night. We were just sitting out by the fire pit, and the gentleman walks past and he says something about having hot dogs or whatever. And believe it or not, I got furious.
Really?
Furious.
Wow.
I mean, it's like, so I'm standing there at the fire pit, and I've got the water hose, you know, and I'm just like, I could just soak this guy.
Oh my.
I mean, I was just so upset, and I didn't, you know,
Good.
right, or maybe my picture would be like this.
Yeah.
But it was just like, so God, what is going on? And he got in the house, and it was just like the kids would say something or something, and it just really rubbed me the wrong way. Just really got irritated, and they weren't saying anything wrong or bad or bad voice tones or anything like that. It was just rubbing me the wrong way, and I'm just like, Lord, what is this spirit of offense? And I'm like,
Okay.
wow, man, I didn't realize how much I carried or I have held on to. And there again, it just starts. So God starts leading me through my past on stuff. And so then a couple nights later, something else happens, and it just, man, you just feel that. And I know we all have. You just feel that rage just go, come out of nowhere, you know. And so Julie was talking to a friend of hers outside the truck, and I was just in the truck waiting, and I'm like, God, what are we going to do with, you know, what, how do you want to handle this? And he's like, put your hands on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right? Because if we can, and that's what the Lord tells us and the Bible instructs us to do, you know, to lay hands on or, you know, whatever, or anoint people, you know, all those things. But I'm like, God, you have the power to just take care of me now. Mm-hmm. And so I'm praying through this prayer and just asking the Lord to remove these things and to just share with me what they are and how does he want to remove them, and renouncing those things out of my life and stuff. And Julie opens up the door of the truck, freaks me out, scares me to death, about just yell. But it's just like, you know, it's those things. God is bringing things to us for us to choose.
Yeah.
Here's things in your lives from a sense of purifying, but it gets back to what you were saying, Phil. It's God is driving us and inviting us into this deeper relationship with him. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he is clearing it out.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But we can choose to, or we can choose not to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this thing that God is doing to draw us closer to him because of, and we've talked before about the squeeze and the pressure that we're sensing in the earth today, in all areas of life, be it political, in the church, business, everywhere. There's not going to be, and I think, Chad, you've said this, there's not going to be a stone that's not unturned.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
But in all of that, in all of what we're dealing with and these pressures and things, God is coming to us. And he's like, there is freedom that I have for you. There is decisions that I need you to make. I'm inviting you into this deeper relationship with me. Give it to me, and you and I will be close as we walk through, as he leads us through, as we walk through this pressure with him.
Right.
With him.
Yeah, I really felt like when I was going through that, it was all with him.
Yes.
Not for me, not him doing it. It was with him. That was the key.
Yes.
I felt the closeness. I felt the love of God and the grace that he poured upon me. It was with him.
Yeah, so one thing we talked about just kind of in preparation for this off camera is we're gonna the topic matter on this episode is going to be slightly prophetic, which we don't always do on this.
Right.
But it's important for people to understand that right now there's what I would call a momentum in the spirit. So there's the squeeze, as I call it, the pressure and things like that we talk about. But there's also this momentum of the Spirit where God is leading us and going to empower us and bless us and anoint us and all those fancy Christian terms to do all these things you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
And I've got my thing that I shared with you guys a couple days ago. And there are different times and seasons that God has. God is a very, I call him agricultural or natural. God works in what I call agricultural cycles. And the thing is we're entering into this season, we're in this season where he is going to empower us with the momentum of the Holy Spirit to do these things, to clean ourselves out, to renew, refresh, restore. Yep.
Yeah.
All the re's. But this is
the re's.
It's true.
Yeah. So the world around us is going to be in chaos because of this epic spiritual battle that's taking place. That's probably unprecedented in many ways.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yeah. So we're living in these times, and we're all living in these times. But the uplifting part of it is that God is going to empower churches and individuals in church being the big C.
Correct.
Using that Eanism, the big C. But he's empowering us to do his work at a very high level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And everybody that will be willing to receive what he has given. It doesn't matter if you've never been in ministry before, if you've never read the Bible before. God is using anyone who will answer the call.
That's right. Saturday, we had a situation that took place that a gentleman was driving home. He's on his motorcycle. He's driving home. Drives past a place, a home that he didn't know the people, didn't know anything about them, but there was a fight that was going on at this home. He pulls over, talks to the people, takes care of the situation that was there, leads the man who was in the fight to Christ, and the man surrenders his life to the Lord, and the guy gets on his bike, his motorcycle, and he leaves. Wow. So I'm having a chance to talk with Phil about this, and Phil's like, man, I saw that happening, but as I drove past, the Lord tells me, pray.
Just pray. That's all he said.
So Phil's praying as he's driving past, not knowing.
3 people on the side of the road. Just pray. Okay. So I just keep going and I pray.
Exactly. So God is empowering people to step into the battle. And he is putting himself on display, and in stepping into the battle, and this is one of the encouraging things I think for all of us, when we step into the battle, you're not alone. Not only is the Lord is there with you to guide you and empower you, like you're saying, Chad, but he's also sending people that's driving right down beside you that you don't even know, that is lifting you up in the fight that you've stepped into to put God on display.
You are never alone.
No.
Never.
You are not. And as we are called into these fights and into these battles, that we are empowered. You're exactly right. We are empowered.
And the uplifting thing is you don't have to do everything yourself. You pray about it, and sometimes you will be the guy on the motorcycle who intervenes.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're going to be the Phil and just be the
exactly,
which is a Christian term for that would be an intercessor.
Yeah.
We are getting some great education tonight, Chad.
See, I'm doing this because I had to learn these things.
So I had to. If you had to learn it, then everybody has to learn.
Yeah. Right? Like, what does this mean?
No, that's great. It's exactly, but it's reinforcement too.
Right.
From a battle standpoint.
Right.
We get to be reinforcements for other brothers and sisters who are stepping into those fights.
Yeah, but you're not called to do it all.
No.
Don't get into this feeling like I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. Because the other funny thing about how God works, he works in the most unusual ways.
Yeah.
His ways are so foreign to our ways. And there's also this spiritual realm and spiritual timing and all those sorts of things that has dare I say, a disconnect with what takes place here physically. Because, like God sets his plans in motion, God does his thing, and then it's up to us to basically pray and adhere. And we also have the free will to choose, which is something we talked about earlier off camera.
Yeah.
Is we, you both were talking about, we all have the freedom to choose our path. So we're in the midst of this squeeze and all this chaos that's taking place on the earth. We have the free will to choose in our situations. Are we going to choose God, or are we going to choose the chaos? Just like you guys talked about.
Yeah. So when we know we have that choice to choose the chaos or the obedience, if you will.
Yeah, that's right.
Keep this verse in mind. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5. We are destroying arguments and all arrogance raised against the knowledge of God, and we are taking every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. And right before that, for the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but divinely powerful for the destruction of strongholds. So when we know we're in the midst of the battle, take that thought captive, take it to God. God, what do you want me to do with this? And, if you find yourself, I'm 30 minutes in, full of rage, and you realize it then stop right there and take it to God. Or if you've been in it for 3 days, take it to God.
Right.
If you think about it, the minute you think about it, take it to God. Remember that verse, 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5. Take every thought captive. Take it to God.
Yeah.
Because that's what he wants, and that's what how he will help you to make the right choice. He won't force you. It is our choice.
Yep.
It absolutely is our choice. But when we do choose to obey him and to follow what he says, and it could be something simple as pray. Just pray. Or it could be walk away, or don't talk to that person, or smile. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Those are all things that God has given you. It's not like you're getting this download of a prophetic happening. Maybe you do. And then use that. But whatever it is, big or small, take it to God and use what he gives you.
That's good.
Well, I didn't mean to silence the room, but
There's a lot of processing.
yeah.
It really is, because it's thinking through, like what you're sharing, Phil, about the practicalities of putting what we're talking about in play. And when you said, whether you've been in it for 30 minutes or 3 days, I've been at the point of going, man, I have blown this so bad.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm realizing, as the Lord's teaching me and all, I'm realizing that, okay, well, what used to be 3 days is now a day and a half, is now 3 hours, is now 30 minutes. And it's just like the renewing of the mind, right? That God is going, okay, grabbing your attention, or I'm surrendering my attention earlier, I'll put it that way, to go, okay, all right, God, all right, hold. What do I do now?
Yeah.
What do I do now? And just listen and be obedient to do what he says or shares at that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then that's experiencing even more freedom, because then you realize, man, I'm not that person anymore.
Right.
I'm not that person anymore.
Right.
And God's like, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't do it on your own. You can't say, I have to fix this. Trust me, I did this for so long. I have to fix this so that God will use me.
Yeah.
I have to fix this so that I'm in God's favor. I have to no. God will fix it if you give it to him.
Yeah.
Hit the reset button. I'll tell you a quick story. Got a message from my daughter the other night. First thing I said, she told me something wrong with her phone. I said, did you try to reboot it? Didn't hear anything from her for a couple minutes. And she comes back and she goes, that's why I need tech people in my life, to tell me the things that I should know, but I don't think of in the moment. And I'm like, There you go. Just hit the reset button.
That's
Just
great.
restart it.
That's great.
You can never have gone too far with God. Just hit the reset button, and God will start over. His love is new every morning.
And we're at our weakest in that moment of crisis.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're at our weakest. We're more susceptible to do and say things we will regret. We're more susceptible to make mistakes, and we're more susceptible to not choose to take something to God. But most situations, we have that time more than we think.
Yes.
You know,
That's truth right there.
We
Yes.
have more time than we think in some cases. If there's a semi-truck 10 feet away from you and it's going 55 mile an hour, you probably need to move quickly in that situation. But, you know, there are some situations you can take 5 minutes and you can breathe.
Yeah.
But the enemy doesn't want you to believe that.
That's
No.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
And, you know, like my wife Kathy, she's going through some very difficult spiritual battles right now because she's in a Bible study group that's tackling some difficult things. And they are experiencing tremendous levels of spiritual warfare. And it's really affecting her. And, you know, there was a lot of conversation over the past several days, really a couple weeks, but the last several days where she's just like, it just like a complete point of frustration and anger and all the emotions. And I'm just trying my best to just be like, just breathe, just 5 minutes. Let him change the course of things. Give God a chance to work, because we talked, I think, was it last week before, about the timing in the spiritual world in heaven with God is very different. Well, there's no time in really in God's kingdom. But here on earth we have time. You know, like these guys have their fancy Apple watches. I don't. But I got a clock up there I can watch the time. But our timing, our physical timing on this earth, I would tell you more about those watches, I'll tell you later. But our time on this earth is a very precise thing for us. You know, we live by time. You know, like, what time do I need to be at work? What time do I need to be, you know, what time are we picking up the kids? What time does church start? Whatever. So we're very cognizant of time. But God, He doesn't work like that.
Mm-mm.
So that's where when it comes to all these things we're talking about, we have to be patient for Him to work in His time, and He works in such unique ways that it's not things that we expect. Like you were sharing earlier about, you know, this thing that you're talking about and you're going to record a separate thing about. It came about in a very unexpected way, and it led to a very unexpected result.
Right.
Well, this is how we're going to experience everything in our lives with God. Because, you know, we have these very precise things that we want. You know, like, I want this, I want this, I want this, and I want that. And God has His plan, which is greater than ours, obviously. So He may grant us these things, but He's not just going to hand them to us. So it's important for us to be patient and to let Him work in the background. You know, just take it to Him. And that is so difficult. There's been a thing that I've battled, and I've talked about it on here before, that my thing, like Phil had his thing, Ian's got his things, I've got my thing, and my thing has been food addiction and all that sort of thing. I've battled with it my whole life. And so often I get so frustrated and so tired and so burned out and so impatient with it. And I have to stand on my faith, just like we all do, us and you and everyone else. We have to stand on our faith in alignment with God's promises that He will take care of things, but He's not going to take care of them in our time. He's going to take care of them in His time, because He's working it into the overall big picture, the big plan. So there's a lot going on in our world. I mean, like we talked about, every stone's being unturned. So we're in the midst of all this chaos here in our daily lives. We have our stuff we want. God has His big overall plan. Momentums and tempos are changing throughout the world, physically and in the spiritual world that we live in. We live in both. So We just have to exercise a lot more patience than we're used to.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not something we can ignore. It's here. Okay. Ian shared a video the other day, and this man gave a timeline. He said, from this particular time until this time, these things are going to happen. I love what the man said, except for the timeline, because God's not rigid, and He doesn't say stay in your lane. He doesn't stay in a lane. God is everywhere. So I can't say to someone who may just find out about what's going on one day before this timeline ends, and then that person doesn't have a chance. You know what I mean?
I do. I know exactly
and
what
I
you're
can't
saying.
wait until that particular day. If God's working with me now, I can't say, well, God's not going to work with me until this, because that guy said this is going to start this day.
Right.
Because God meets each of us where we are.
Exactly.
And it's just like, so the situation that you were dealing with between you and the Lord happened a couple days or whatever before mine.
Yeah.
And then there's mine. And then there's this person over here. And then there's this person over there. Well, then all of a sudden, well, man, Phil started a couple days ago. Man, I'm behind schedule.
Don't do that.
I am going to get, I'm not going to get everything Phil's going to get.
Right.
And God is not that way at all.
Nope.
No.
He is not that way at all. And His
No.
loving kindness that He is pouring out and His grace that He's pouring out to each individual person, that is like, when this person submits and surrenders and says, okay, I'm going to follow you, then you know what? God is right there with them, just
Yes.
as if He was with me 5 years earlier.
Yes. Yes. And will be 5 years from now when you have to go through
That's
it again.
such a good point, Phil. That really is.
So, and the reason I brought that up is I'm saying we're already in the midst of something. It's possibly going to get worse. I don't know. You guys may say it is going to get worse. I don't know. Again, who's the judge of that other than the individual? But certainly, and we've all three said it, we've heard others say it, God is changing things. He's, as Chad said, leaving no stone unturned.
Yeah.
We're in the midst of something, and if it hasn't started for you yet, it will start soon. Don't ignore it. Embrace it, receive it, and take it to God and say, what are we going to do with this? Because,
Right.
Yeah.
It is. And it's all designed to draw us closer to Him, which has got to be encouraging for us. It has to be that we're just like, man, the King of Kings and the Creator of all is inviting me into a deeper relationship with Him.
Yeah.
No matter what my physical circumstances are, God is addressing my spiritual place with Him. And He's drawing me closer into Himself. And spiritually, as we move closer into Him, the physical has a tendency to fade.
oh yeah,
Doesn't it?
Absolutely.
The physical fades
Absolutely.
away. And it's just like, the different struggles and all that each one of us could face and deal with. As we understand and we take our 5 minutes that Chad was talking about, we take our 5 minutes and really just be with God in the midst of all of it. Those things that were so pressing at that moment fade. And that's what God is doing. He's inviting us into that deeper relationship with Him. But we have to step into that. And we have to be willing to let go of the things that the enemy wants to be so pressing in upon us, whether it's our hearts and things that we're dealing with, with our families, or if it's our minds and the thoughts that the enemy because he knows which buttons to push as far as our heads are concerned.
Oh yeah.
But if we just let God in that space, then that pressure is relieved, and all of the things that supposedly matter that the enemy wants us to be so frustrated about fade. And the relationship with God is what comes to the forefront and becomes more important for us.
Resist the devil and he will flee from you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is so true.
Yes.
If you do resist, if you say, I know that God is not saying this, that the enemy is saying this, he will flee. That's the part of what you're saying with the physical fading away. It will flee. And you will embrace it more, and you'll change. Your life will change.
Well, and you talked a minute ago, Phil, about worse. Are things going to get worse? Well, what is the definition of worse?
Yeah, that's yeah. Exactly.
I mean, we have our own
Right,
personal
right.
definition of worse,
Right.
but God has a different definition of worse. You
Right.
know, because God knows everything that happened 2,000, 4,000 years ago, and He knows everything that's going to happen at whatever point in the future, and He knows what is happening in this moment. So, like, His understanding of worse or better is vastly different than ours.
It is.
And that's true.
Right.
And our definition changes.
Mm-hmm.
I oftentimes in the last few days have said, God, you have brought me through so much that I would say is worse,
Mm-hmm.
that what could be worse than what I've already been through? I feel like I'm on the other side, whereas some people may be going into the valley, I'm walking out. Doesn't mean I won't get tossed back into the valley, but right now, I know what has brought me out, and I'm going to the one who has brought me out, and I'm going to focus on him, and may never see the valley again.
That's
good.
right.
Valleys fill first.
Yep. Yep. Because my famous Chadism is, what alternative do we have?
Yes.
What alternative do we
That's so
have?
true.
Yes.
Yeah.
A great Chadism. You know what a philism is? Saying that we're almost out of time.
Already?
Not quite there yet, but we're
Oh,
getting
my
there.
word.
I was going to
Just
say,
giving you a couple-minute warning.
he's
here.
giving us like a 2-minute warning. This needs to be like that ESPN show where like they give you like 2 minutes to talk about each thing, and then there's a 2-minute warning or
Right.
whatever. That might even be the name of that show. I forget, but
Oh, that's
you know,
funny.
like yeah. But yeah, so this has been a pretty powerful episode,
I think so.
and hopefully that people have been getting the practical nature. So just to kind of a quick recap.
Great.
The world is, yes, it's in chaos, but there's beauty in it because God is moving.
Yeah.
In probably, like we said, unprecedented ways. There's things that we're not going to talk about on this on UpLift because that's okay. Those are for other shows or venues or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the key takeaway here is relationship,
Yes.
the book, the word, and just have that relationship with God and take these things to Him, because yes, we're walking in difficult times. Might get worse, might not. Individually, it might get worse for some and get better for others.
Right.
And one thing that Ian talked about recently is waves.
Yeah.
Things will come in waves, and they always do.
Mm-hmm.
But these waves right now are likely going to be more, hurricane kind of waves at points than just little, kind of nice at the beach with
Play in the waves.
Yeah, play in the waves, right? And that's okay too. But
It is.
yeah, we gotta count our relationship and just really seek Him
Mm-hmm.
as these things come up, and also look for the momentum. Watch for the momentum.
Yeah,
Watch for
yes,
where God
yes.
is moving. And
Absolutely.
move with
Isn't that
Him.
true?
Move with Him.
Yeah, it's because he's coming for us.
Yes.
In that.
Yes.
It's that drawing in. That's
Yeah.
right,
Yes,
Chad.
yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
You stay in the flow of the Spirit. That way, it's just, yep.
Yep.
However you do it,
hmm
just take it to God.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can't give you a formula. You just got to take it to God. That is the formula.
And one thing Phil was wanting to bring up tonight is receive.
Yeah.
Choose to receive what God is offering you in the moment, in your situation. You got to choose that. It's got to be an active choice that you have.
Say it.
Yes.
Say it.
Speak the yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Speak it. Yes.
I receive.
Yes.
I
then,
receive.
And then stand on your faith.
Yes.
Which is expecting a result that you haven't seen yet.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, guys.
Wow.
It was really good.
Yeah.
I know, man. I'm about taking notes myself.
No,
It's good
seriously.
stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, really, really good stuff.
Something that I said at the table in the episode that aired last week was how struggles build us up. And last week we had to kind of cancel, I guess you would say, because we ran out of time. I explained it in the video last week, but look what it did a week later. You know, how different
Oh,
we
yeah.
are. I mean, I know they didn't see us last week, but how different are we this week than we were last
Yeah,
week?
absolutely.
You know, the struggles are not bad things because they build us up if we take it to God.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Don't try to do it on your own.
Yep.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Very good.
Yeah, fantastic.
Very
guys.
good.
So if you enjoyed this show, consider sharing it with someone. This podcast or video, however you're choosing to partake. Give us some feedback. Let us know what we're doing well, what we can change, anything you want to hear. We're still waiting for that topic that's going to stump Chad.
Yes. We are waiting.
There's more than one. I guarantee you.
Not if you take it to God.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
So yeah, let us know how we can do what we can do to help you, how we can pray for you.
Yeah. Prayer requests.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Love to hear from you.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining in.
Blessings.
Have a great week.